The end if H-1B visa workers, $100,000. That's how much it now costs a company to hire a foreign worker on an H-1B visa. And right now, tech companies across America are making a choice. Pay that astronomical fee or finally invest in American workers. And for the first time in decades, American workers are winning. The H-1B program as we knew it is over, and that might be exactly what America needs. Let me show you why. First, let me explain what H-1B visas are and why they became such a problem. The program allows U.S. companies to hire foreign workers in specialized fields, mostly tech and engineering. There are currently 730,000 H-1B workers in the United States. The program caps new visas at $85,000 per year, but for years, companies have used this program not to fill genuine skill gaps, but to replace American workers with cheaper foreign labor. Here's what just changed. September 21st, 2025, President Trump signed Presidential Proclamation 10,866.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation that would require a new annual $100,000 fee for H-1B visa applicants,
adding a $100,000 fee for every new H-1B visa. Then, February 27th, 2026.
Twin Cities since Operation Metro Surge began last month.
The Department of Homeland Security announced they're ending the random lottery and replacing it with a weighted system that prioritizes the highest-paid workers. According to USCIS data, registrations for fiscal year 2026 dropped 26.9% from 442,000 down to 339,000. Companies are finally being forced to look at American talent first, and they added social media screening to prevent fraud and abuse. This is the beginning of the end for a program that has spent decades undercutting American workers. And here's why that's actually good news. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's a 32-year-old software engineer from Ohio, State University graduate. He spent 5 years at a mid-sized tech company in Columbus, working his way up from junior developer to senior engineer. 2 years ago, his company brought in 3 H-1B workers from India to join his team. The company said they couldn't find qualified Americans, but Marcus knew that wasn't true. He'd seen the job postings. They were asking for impossible combinations of skills at below-market wages. No American with those qualifications would take the job for that pay. But H-1B workers would, because even those low wages were higher than what they'd make back home. Then his company told Marcus his team was being restructured. The 3 H-1B workers would stay. Marcus and 2 American colleagues were let go. The company saved money. Marcus spent 8 months looking for work before finally finding a new position at lower pay. That's the H-1B program working exactly as designed. Not filling skill gaps, replacing Americans with cheaper labor. Now, with the new fees and restrictions, Marcus just got hired back into tech at a company that can't afford to bring in foreign workers anymore. They're investing in Americans, training Americans, paying market wages to Americans. Marcus isn't competing against someone willing to work for less because they're desperate for a visa. He's competing on his actual skills, and he's winning. Here's what critics won't tell you. The H-1B program was never about bringing in the best and brightest. According to data from the National Foundation for American Policy, the top H-1B employers in 2023 weren't innovative startups desperate for genius-level talent. They were IT outsourcing firms like Cognizant, Infosys, and Tata Consultancy Services. These companies brought in thousands of workers specifically to undercut American wages. Amazon used over 11,000 H-1B workers. Do you really believe Amazon, one of the richest companies on earth, couldn't find qualified Americans? Or is it more likely they found it cheaper to import foreign workers? And here's the data that proves American workers were getting screwed. For years, H-1B workers were paid less than their American counterparts for the same work. The program was supposed to require employers to pay the prevailing wage, but companies gamed the system by defining jobs narrowly, comparing wages to entry-level positions, and using loopholes to justify lower pay. The result? American workers were either replaced or saw their wages stagnate because companies could threaten to bring in H-1B workers instead. Now look what's happening. With the $100,000 fee making it expensive to import foreign workers, companies are doing what they should have been doing all along. They're raising wages to attract American talent. They're investing in training programs. They're recruiting from state universities instead of only targeting Stanford and MIT. They're looking at experienced workers who might not have the perfect resume, but have the skills to do the job. The companies complaining the loudest about these changes are the ones that were exploiting the system. They claim they can't find qualified Americans. But what they really mean is they can't find Americans willing to work for the wages they want to pay. When you actually pay market rates, American talent is everywhere. And let's talk about the innovation argument. Tech companies love to say that H-1B workers drive innovation, and that restricting the program will hurt America's competitive edge. But here's what they don't mention. According to the National Science Foundation, while foreign-born workers are 58% of STEM PhDs, they're concentrated in universities and research institutions, not in the corporate jobs that H-1B visas are mostly used for. The H-1B program isn't bringing in Nobel Prize winners. It's bringing in mid-level developers and IT workers. And Americans can do that work just fine if companies are willing to pay for it. The real innovation in America has always come from Americans who built companies in their garages, who took risks, who had crazy ideas. Steve Jobs wasn't an H-1B worker. Neither was Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg. Innovation doesn't require importing cheap labor. It requires investing in education, training, and creating opportunities for Americans. And here's what's already happening now that companies can't rely on the H-1B pipeline. They're partnering with American universities to create pipeline programs. They're offering internships and training to American students. They're creating apprenticeship programs for career changers. They're looking at veterans with technical skills. They're reconsidering their ridiculous job requirements that demanded 10 years of experience with a technology that's only existed for 5 years. When you force companies to focus on American workers, they suddenly discover that American workers are pretty talented after all. Startups are complaining that the $100,000 fee makes it impossible to hire. But you know what? If your startup business model depends on exploiting cheap foreign labor instead of paying Americans fair wages, maybe your business model isn't sustainable. Real startups that are building innovative products can attract American talent by offering equity, interesting work, and competitive pay. The startups complaining are the ones that wanted to hire 3 foreign developers for the price of 1 American. That's not innovation, that's exploitation. Now, some people will say this pushes jobs offshore. Companies will just hire workers in India and Poland instead of bringing them here. And you know what? Let them. If a company's loyalty to America is so shallow that they'll ship jobs overseas the moment they're asked to pay American workers fairly, we don't want them here anyway. And here's the thing. A lot of that offshore threat is a bluff. Companies still need workers who understand American markets, who work in American time zones, who can meet with American clients. The jobs that can truly be done from anywhere are already offshore. The ones that remain require being here. And now, those jobs will go to Americans.
Welcome back. And joining me now is Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Congresswoman, welcome to Meet the Press.
Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced House resolution legislation in January 2026.
I'm introducing a bill to completely eliminate the H-1B visa program, which has been riddled with fraud and abuse.
To eliminate the H-1B program entirely.
I'd like to just take a minute to remind everyone that words matter and their meanings need to be exactly clear.
Calling for an aggressive phase-out. And she's right. This program has spent 30 years suppressing American wages and replacing American workers. It's time to end it and force companies to invest in the country that gave them everything. The H-1B program told American workers they weren't good enough, they weren't smart enough, they cost too much. For decades, we accepted that. We let companies convince us that we needed to import foreign workers because Americans couldn't compete. That was always a lie. Americans built the tech industry. Americans invented the internet. Americans created the companies that changed the world. And when companies are forced to invest in Americans again, Americans will prove we're just as innovative, just as talented, and just as capable as anyone else in the world. We didn't lose anything by restricting H-1B visas. We took back our leverage. We forced companies to invest in America again. We created opportunities for American workers who were locked out of their own economy. This isn't xenophobia. This isn't isolationism. This is basic fairness. American companies should hire American workers first. And if they truly can't find the skills they need domestically, then and only then should they look abroad. And they should pay a premium for that privilege. So here's my question. Do you think American workers deserve priority in the American economy? Or do you think companies should be allowed to import cheaper labor whenever they feel like it? Because that's what this debate is really about. And for the first time in decades, American workers are winning. Let me know in the comments. Are you seeing better opportunities now? Are companies finally taking American workers seriously? And if this changed how you see the H-1B debate, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.